Hello everyone. So welcome to another session with USTP PPD Manjung, also Sektor Pembelajaran PPD Manjung for another SPM workshop. So today we have someone very special with us, which is Mr. Mohana. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hi Mr. Mohana. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Miss Nisa?
Okay, I'm good. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for
Pleasure.
all right. So, Mr. Mohana is a teacher from SMK Perempuan Methodist. Betul? From
Yes.
Ipoh. He is a good friend of mine and we've been friends since 2000. I can't remember lah. So, Mr. Mohana is with us today, teaching us how to write better for our SPM paper. Okay, I'm gonna give you the screen all to you, Mr. Mohana. So, take away.
All right. Very good afternoon, everyone. So for today's session, my name is Mohana. I'm from Ipoh, Methodist Girls School Ipoh, just like how Miss Nisa introduced me. For today's session, we are going to look at writing. Okay, I'm going to share with you some tips on paper one writing, directed writing, and also continuous writing. We are going to look at some nuances for writing essays. Okay, before that, if you need more, if you are looking for lessons, online lessons, or if you are looking for materials for learning for essay writing materials, you can always visit my YouTube page or my blog here. I've shared a lot of materials there for you to do referencing. For today's session, we may not have, I may not be able to share everything, all the information. But if you find my session to be interesting, you can always visit my YouTube page or my blog page to get sample examples of essays and some writing tips, right? Now, for today's session, first I'm going to share with you some SPM study tips. Now, these are some examples of concern that I always find among students, yeah? Especially when I go for talks, when I give talks, when I ask students, okay, what are the problems that you have? So these are a few examples of problems that the students would normally list out. For example, grammatical errors. They do not know how to correct grammatical errors in their essays. They do not know how to build vocabulary for writing. And also they say they don't have idea for writing or lack of idea for writing, they say. And fear of not being able to expand ideas in the mix of writing, especially when they write narrative. A lot of students, they come to me, they say, teacher, I'm writing halfway, but I do not know how to continue my essay. You know, these are the things that they come, these are the problems or concerns that they come with. And a lot of them also have come to me and said that they do not know how to prepare for SPM English. However, the most common things that the students have been doing are this. Okay, practicing essay writing almost every day, memorizing idioms, proverbs, and apt vocabulary, and also doing past year SPM question papers, as well as memorizing essay and doing grammar and vocabulary exercises. And many students find, despite doing all this throughout the year, they still find it difficult to score in their essay writing. Now, I would say that now practicing essay writing is not wrong. Memorizing idioms and proverbs is also not wrong. And practicing past year questions, memorizing essays, and doing grammar and vocabulary exercises, all these are fine. But how much do you practice all this with an objective is the most important thing. Wherever, if you have heard, attended my workshop before this is what I would always say. Now, whatever you are doing, let's say you want to practice writing, you need to have an objective or an aim of what you want to achieve at the end of your writing task. If you are blindly practicing writing every day without having an aim or objective what you want to achieve, then most likely you're going to make the same errors. You're not going to improve much. The most that you would improve is your word count, probably because you have been practicing writing. But what about vocabulary? What about the use of the right structure in writing? That is why it is very important for you, especially at these crucial moments. Now you see, this is already mid-December, and your SPM is probably in another 2 or 3 months in early March. So what you have to do is you need to start practicing. Okay, but what kind of practice that you need to do? You need to have an objective to actually start writing. When you write, you need to have an objective. Now, but before that, what you need to do is you need to enrich yourself with the right vocabulary, with the right structure. Now, are you going to absorb all this? Of course, reading is a good way for you to do it. Okay, reading is always good for us to improve vocabulary. But this is not the time for you to read storybooks. You don't have time for that anymore. Reading storybooks, improving vocabulary by reading storybooks, all this happens, but in the long term. But at these crucial moments, the next 3 months, what you need to do to improve vocabulary for writing, to improve your structure for writing. Okay, I have one tip. Before I go into the exam tips, let me share with you one tip on how to improve your writing skills. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Okay. Now, if you just look at this paragraph. Okay, let's take a moment reading this paragraph. Yeah, the bus passed a stretch of sea as it went along the coast. The sight of the sun's rays bouncing on the waves to form a glittering bed of blue and green was absolutely beautiful. I found pleasure by just watching the scenery that I did not realize that my stomach was protesting in hunger. The bus stopped at a little market square where hawkers had set up little stalls to sell their wares. I got down the bus and treated myself to a juicy Ramly burger, legendary for its finger-licking taste. Had my mother with me, I would never have been allowed to buy it. So I enjoyed my freedom greatly. Now, this is one paragraph. The reason I'm sharing this paragraph with you is if you want to improve your writing at this time before your SPM, I advise you to read sample essays. Okay, example, this is an example of a paragraph. So you need to read sample essays. Now, when you read sample essays, you need to have a strategy. A lot of you, when your teachers give you sample essays, what you do is you read for 10 minutes, that's it. And all you can do is you can re-explain the story in your own words. Fine, very good. But how many days would you remember the vocabulary? How much effort do you put to know the structure of the sentences used in the essay? Now you can easily spend an hour reading one essay to absorb a lot of information that would help you to write your own essay in future. Now for this essay, okay, let me share with you how to do it. Look at this paragraph. Okay, look at this paragraph. Okay, so what you can do is first, you have to read the essay and identify the vocabulary, sentence structure, and the use of grammar. Okay, you have to identify this. Now, read means serious reading, not having earphones and then with your handphones and then having distractions around you. That won't work. Okay, you have to really pay attention to the essay. Now, after you have finished reading it, the next thing that you have to do is you have to study the essay. Okay, take notes of important and interesting phrases or words. For example, look at the colored words, sentences, phrases, and words that I have highlighted in this essay. Okay, for example, sun rays bouncing on the waves to form a glittering bed of blue and green was absolutely beautiful. Found pleasure by just watching. Finger-licking taste or finger-licking good. Okay, now, since I'm sharing this with you now, I'm sure you won't forget the ideas like absolutely beautiful for quite some time. Probably if you are writing something tomorrow and you're using the word beautiful, instead of using very beautiful, you would remember to use absolutely beautiful. Replace the word very with absolutely beautiful. Now, these are the things that you can grab, write, and keep and practice as you read sample essays so that you would remember to use them when you write your essays. Same goes to the structure. Now, if you look at this paragraph, I have used past tense throughout the essay. So you can study the past tense structure of this essay and then you can try practicing it on your own. So this is how you practice. Okay, so this is how you practice writing an essay, right? So before you write, okay, before you write, so what you have to do is, let's say from today until your SPM, you study one essay a day. Spend 1 hour. You read, you study, and you practice. Meaning to say, you read the essay and then you take note of all the grammatical structures, the sentence structure, the vocabulary, and then try to use back on your own. Of course, when you do the first few attempts, the first 5 times, probably you find it like very difficult for you to do it. But of course, there's no gain without pain. You need to put in a lot of effort to get used to doing this. Now, if you are looking for a way to improve essay writing or to improve your English writing skill, this is one way you can do it. Now, it is always proven when you read more, you absorb more idea into your mind. And the ideas that you absorb are the ones that will come out, flow easily when you write your essays. That is the mantra, I would say, for you to be able to write well. If you just keep on practicing writing every day without putting in input in your head, for example, without learning new vocabulary, without learning new structure, you're just practice writing every day, most likely you're not going to use anything new in your essay and you're not going to improve. So what you have to do is, you have to get new ideas put into your brain and try to use those new ideas in your writing practice so that you would improve slowly. Now, if you start doing it every day, you don't have to write essay every day. Probably you write essay once a week or twice a week. But at least spend 1 hour a day to read essays. Okay, using the study tip that I have shared here, you can use a study essay for at least 1 hour a day. Using all these study tips, I'm very sure that you will improve. At least you will see improvement in just 1 month, provided you do it every day. Okay, if you don't trust me, you try practicing starting from today until the end of this month, for example, until 16th of January, and then you try writing one essay, and you would see how much you have improved. Okay, so this is one study tip for SPM. As I said earlier, practicing is good. But at the same time, before you start practicing, you need to have some input knowledge here. You need to put information into your mind. The vocabulary, the grammar structure, the sentence structure, all that you need to put in your mind. So, but at this point of time, you don't have time to practice grammar. You don't have time to practice vocabulary exercises. All you have to do is read as much as you can. And I'm sure this reading, SPM, and what you can read is go and look for good sample essays. There are a lot of good sample essays that you can read from. Go and read all these good sample essays and plant these ideas into your mind and then practice your essay writing, right? So that is the first part for today's slot. Now let us move on to the next part. Now, for today's session, I'm going to share with you some tips on directed writing and continuous writing. Okay, first we will look at directed writing. I'm going to share with you an informal letter. I'm not going to go into formats one by one and so on. Yeah, I'm just going to share with you some very crucial tips, okay, based on the common mistakes made by students in SPM. Okay, so let's get started. Now, okay, so this is basically the format, okay, the marks, distribution of marks for directed writing and continuous writing. I don't think that I need to explain this further. I'm sure your teachers have explained to you much earlier. Now, first, look at this question, okay. Your friend has planned to go traveling during school holidays. Since it is his or her first time traveling abroad, you have decided to write him or her a letter to give him or her tips on traveling. Using the information in the poster below, write your letter. Now, the reason I'm sharing with you an informal letter is because informal letter has not been tested for quite some time. Okay, I'm not sharing with you last year's question. It's because last year's article has been tested last year and the previous year. If it comes out again this year, doesn't matter. But let us look at something that has not been tested for quite some time. Okay, who knows if we are lucky, right? So you have been given a poster, and based on this poster, you have to write a letter to your friend. Okay, it says him or her, so it doesn't matter. The gender doesn't matter. Now, when writing, you should remember to lay out the letter correctly. Address, date, salutation, and closing. Use all the points given and suggest 2 other traveling tips regarding health. Okay, that the letter is to your friend. So keep in mind that you're writing a letter to your friend, not your cousin or your sister or your brother. Okay, so the first thing is always read the instructions carefully. Okay, now, and you have the crucial points here. Before, what are the things that you need to do before going for the trips, and while traveling, and you also have what you have to do there while traveling, your transportation while traveling. So basically you have 12 points. Okay, 10 points given to you, 2 points on health tips regarding traveling tips regarding health. You have to think on your own. So this is what basically we are going to look at today. Okay, I may be doing informal letter, but the tips that I'm sharing with you can be used for speech, can be used for report, can also be used for article. It's basically the general tips that I'm sharing with you. You can use for any format. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Now let us look at the next slide. Okay. Now you are going to share tips. Okay. So sharing tips. Your friend is about to go for a holiday. So your tips should be in simple present tense. Always, before you start writing your essay, before you plan your essay, think carefully. What are the tenses and where are the tenses need to be fit in? Now, so for this essay, when you are sharing tips, you use simple present tense. And while sharing tips, if you have your past experience, you want to share your own experience. So your own experience, you use past tense. Now, while you use simple present tense, you may also use present tense and present perfect tense. If you are using simple past tense, you may use simple past tense and past perfect tense. Okay, these are all related to one another. Okay, for example, simple present, present continuous, present perfect. Simple past, past perfect, past continuous, they come together. It's just that how you are using it. Okay, you have to understand the rules. But basic rule is understand which tense you need to use. Because a lot of times, a lot of students, many students, they mixed up simple present tense and past tense. It all gets mixed up. Okay, one sentence you write in past tense, one sentence you write in simple present tense. Why? Because you do not plan your essay properly. I'm sure many students, you know what is simple present tense and what is simple past tense, but this mistake happens all the time. So keep this in mind, and when you write your essays, or for example, after this, if you're going to practice writing this essay, keep these tips in mind. Okay, and since you are giving suggestion, you are giving tips, you may use modal verbs. You may, you should, please, ensure, or before anything. These are some examples of sentence starters that you use. Now, since I have said for this essay, you can use modal verbs, go and study the rules of using modal verbs before start writing this essay. Now, let us move to the next one. Okay, now, okay, so this is the general format here for an informal letter. Now, if you want to know more about the formal letter, the format of an informal letter, if you want to study more in detail to understand the format of informal letter, I've shared with you the QR code. You can go to the QR code and then watch the video later. Okay, you can scan the QR code and watch a video on the format of an informal letter for SPM writing. Okay, so I'm not going to go in detail explaining to you the format. Let us move on to the next one. Now, this is the introduction. Okay, so it's important for you whether you're writing a report, whether you are writing your informal letter or article or a speech, the purpose of your article, speech, report must be stated very clearly. Now, let us look at my introduction. Dear Chinmina, I'm glad that I have finally found the time to write to you. It has been a busy month here with tons of school homework to be completed before the holiday begins. Anyway, how have you been keeping? How have you been keeping? I'm sure you must be excited about your first overseas travel. It must be exciting to have the opportunity to travel to Australia for a month-long vacation. Well, since this is your first overseas trip, I would like to share with you some travel suggestions and tips which I have learned from my experiences while traveling with my family. Now, if you look at this, okay, so if you look at this, at the end of the first paragraph, I have already shared with you the tips. Okay, I've already shared with you the tips. Okay, so if you look at this, excuse me, yeah. So if you look at this, the introduction, okay, come on, do not always start. Dear Chinmina, how are you? I hope you are fine. I am fine here. You know, the markers are going to be damn bored reading the same line every time. Try to start with something different, something simple like what I've shared here. I'm glad that I finally found the time to write to you. Isn't this is something very simple? I didn't use any difficult word. Now, all you need to put is just a little bit effort. Go to Google and type simple sentence starters for informal letters. Okay, and you will find a lot. If you cannot find, you may go back to my YouTube channel, the one, the QR code that I shared just now. I've also shared a list there. Paragraph starters for informal writing. Okay, so do not start with the ancient old, how are you? I hope you are fine. Okay, but if you feel that you still want to use that, go ahead, no problem. Okay, now, and I also put in the same idea, but in a different way. It has been a busy month here with tons of school work to be completed before the holiday begins. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure you would write, sorry for writing a letter to you late because I've been busy with school, my school homework or extracurricular activities at school. So this is one way you can use, put the idea. Okay, now, earlier I have shared with you how you can study a sample essay and get ideas from there. Now I'm sharing with you this sample essay. So from this sample here, you can actually get all the ideas, right? So I'm sure you have your papers and pens with you. You can write down all these ideas and later you can try it out on your own, right? So this is where you learn the ideas. You learn, you get new ideas from samples. Like when, and I'm sharing all these ideas because as a student, this is how I learned. Okay, this is how I learned. This is how I improved my writing skills. So I'm basically sharing the same tips here. Okay, so now if you look at the end of my paragraph 1, I've clearly stated the purpose of the letter. Okay, why am I writing to you this letter? I've stated this clearly. So keep in mind, indirected writing, or if you're writing a reflective essay, if you are writing an argumentative essay, your first paragraph is very crucial for you to state what is the purpose of your writing. Okay, so here the purpose of the letter is stated clearly. So if you're writing a speech, also you need to put your purpose. Okay, if you're writing an article, you also need to put it just in a different way. Okay, you put it in a different way. So just remember the purpose, why you're writing the letter is important. Put it in the first paragraph. All right, I'll move on to the next paragraph then. Now, so the first 2 points here, tickets and passport. Okay, important documents. Okay, so these are the first 2 points, things that you need to prepare before going for your holidays. Okay, so let me read for you my second paragraph, then I will share with you some tips. Before embarking on your journey, it is necessary to prepare your travel documents promptly. Please do make sure your tickets and passport are valid and stored safely. Any other important documents such as your visa, travel insurance, or reservations should also be treated with care. It is good to make copies or use e-documents on your smartphone. Okay, now, if you see, my point 1 is tickets, okay, and passport. Okay, so, and I started my introductory paragraph leading to point C1 and C2. Okay, introductory part of the new paragraph leads to the development of C1 and C2. Okay, now let us see my C1, tickets and passport. Okay, so when you write your essay, especially for directed writing, a lot of students like to change, try not to change the forms of words given in the content points. Now, it's not that you cannot do it. I didn't say you cannot do it. I advise a lot of students, I would advise don't do it. Why? some students, they are very smart, you know, they're very smart, and when they change, it change into a different word and they lose marks. It happens to my students a lot, especially when they did for the trial. That's what they do. They change the form and then the entire idea changes. So as much as you can, try to maintain the form that has been given to you. Like here, tickets and passport, use that form to elaborate your idea. So here, you see, please do make sure your tickets and passport are valid and stored safely. Okay, the next thing, important documents. Okay, important documents, in your elaboration, you can give examples of important documents. So here, I've shared with you any other important documents such as visa, travel insurance, or reservations should also be treated with care. Okay, now a lot of students, what they do is, common errors that students would do is, let me tell you what they do. Okay, they would write the definition of tickets and passport. Okay, some students, they do not know how to elaborate. Okay, they write definition of passport. Passport is needed when you want to travel to another country to show or prove that you are a citizen of a certain country. Now, you do not need all that. Okay, you do not need to give definition for this. Another thing is, another common error that student would do is, you look at the box that I've just appeared just now. Before traveling, make sure you have your tickets and passport as well as other important documents with you. This is one thing that students do. Another one, okay, another common way students write would be, make sure you prepare important documents such as tickets and passport before traveling. You see, you put both points together. Okay, you put the tickets and passport and then important documents. Your ticket and passport become example for your important documents. Now, as much as you can, try to elaborate each point separately. You can link, for example, it is linked here, but I have a separate elaboration for ticket and passport. Please do make sure your tickets and passport are valid and stored safely. One point. Next point, any other important documents such as your visa, travel insurance, or reservation should also be treated with care. This is one way of doing it. Okay, now if there are directed writing questions where ask you to write time and date, that doesn't matter. So you can say the event is on Saturday, 15th January 2021. Doesn't matter. Okay, you don't have to elaborate much. But this one, okay, you put it separately to ensure that you get your score content point. So make sure your elaboration, you put it like this. You do not put like the one that I've given to you at the bottom here. Okay, like the one here. Okay, putting it like 2-in-1, like coffee 2-in-1 or 3-in-1. A lot of students like to do like this. Okay, they lose marks here. I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. They lose marks. So don't write like this. If you have been doing like this, this is a reminder to you that to not do like that. Okay, let us look at the next point. Okay, point 3, bags with wheels. Okay, pack your belongings in bags with wheels. This should make it convenient for you to move your luggage around with ease. Okay, now here I have shared with you one content point. Okay, the content point, and then the below in blue is the elaboration for the bags with wheels. Okay, pack your belongings in bags with wheels. This should make it convenient for you to move your luggage around with ease. See, you do not actually need to explain a lot. This will do. Okay, bag with wheels. Why do you need bag with wheels? You do not need to explain what is bag with wheels. Okay, the what you do not need to put here, but you just can say why do you need bag with wheels. Okay, the next one would be, okay, so the content point and the elaboration. Okay, so this much of elaboration for this point is enough. Okay, now the next one would be wrinkle-free clothing. Okay, so this is the elaboration. So it starts with, okay, so I've already stated, okay, that is the wrinkle-free clothing is my what they call signpost. Okay, you see every sentence that I start in my idea, I start with the content point that is given. I use the content point, meaning to say I'm indicating to the marker that I am actually explaining this point. Okay, for example, pack your belongings in bags with wheels. So when the marker reads this line, he knows that I'm actually going to elaborate this. That is why I say, as much as you can, don't try to change the idea of the content points given in the rubrics or in the questions. And then the marker would know, so the next line is actually elaborating that. So I'm also giving it here. Here is a useful tip. Pack wrinkle-free clothing. This way, you won't look shabby if you can't find an iron to press your clothes. Okay, here is a useful tips. Okay, so now if you see the content point, first line, and it is followed by the supporting idea. Okay, elaboration that extends. Okay, the content point. Okay, so this is how you write. Okay, make sure, please make sure when you elaborate, you follow a proper structure to elaborate. Don't put your ideas and point everywhere. So the reason is, I'm telling this because if you are putting it everywhere, sometimes you might forget where did you write. It happens, when students, especially with directed writing, you only have 45 minutes. Okay, you have 45 minutes to complete your directed writing. Paper 1, 1 hour, 45 minutes. Allocation of mark for directed writing is 45 minutes. Continuous writing is 1 hour. So you have to complete your directed writing in 45 minutes, If you are spending 1 hour for directed writing and 45 minutes of continuous writing, you are making a mistake. Why? Because continuous writing is the one that brings a lot of weightage, 50 marks. Directed writing brings in 35 marks. So finish your directed writing in 45 minutes. And for directed writing, if you follow a proper structure, you look at the content point, you write, done. Content point, write, done. You follow the proper structure, you finish, you are done. You know what have you written and where you have written them. If you don't follow a proper structure, probably you're going to mix up everything everywhere, and probably you will be missing out 1 or 2 points, and you will be losing mark for your content point, and that will affect your language as well. So keep this in mind, follow the proper structure. As what I've shown here, follow this idea. Every paragraph or whenever you want to elaborate your new point, start the first sentence with the point itself as your signpost telling the marker that this is the point that I'm writing and I'm elaborating this point. Then you start with the next new line and then you elaborate the idea. Okay, now next one. Okay, family. Okay, this is the next 2 points, which is while you are traveling. So family, so look at my idea. While traveling, make sure to inform your family or friends of your whereabouts in case of an emergency. Okay, the word case is missing there. Okay, while traveling, make sure to inform your family and friends of your whereabouts in case of an emergency. Okay, that is done. You don't have to elaborate further. Okay, if you want to write another sentence for this, okay, fine, doesn't matter. All right, let us look at Malaysian Embassy 66. You should also register yourself at the local Malaysian Embassy. They are responsible to provide you with almost any assistance during emergency. Okay, now you see, one sentence for this point, one sentence, I use the main idea. Another sentence is elaborating the idea. Enough. Or if you want to write another 2 more sentences, no problem. Okay, you want to add on, but what can you add on about Malaysia, about the embassy? Okay, and one thing, okay, another tip that you have to keep in mind, do not elaborate for the sake of wanting to put in ideas here. Okay, do not elaborate for the sake of just dump in ideas. Don't do that. Another thing, do not unnecessarily use idioms and proverbs when it is not required. Okay, a lot of students like to use idioms and proverbs. I think they memorize the idioms and proverbs. They memorize a lot of idioms and proverbs. When they get the question, they list down all the idioms and proverbs on a piece of paper, and then they take, while they're writing, they look at the idiom. Oh, okay, this idiom can fit in, put here. And they take this idiom, put here. Take the proverb, put here, put here, put it. And then their essay is full with idioms and proverbs which are not related to the essay. You're not going to get marked for doing that, yeah? Remember that. Okay? Keep in mind, you use idioms and proverbs when needed. Okay, if it's really needed in the essay, then you can put it. For informal letter, definitely you can use idioms. But see whether if there a requirement for that or not. Right? Next, okay, less cash in hand. Okay, and another point, secure your personal belongings. Okay, it is your responsibility to be careful while traveling. Carry less cash in hand. It is smart for you to split up your cash and stash them separately in case you get careless or pickpocketed. Okay, this is another tip. Okay, so here how many sentences I've used? 2 sentences. If you see throughout my essay, for each point I've used at least 2 or 3 sentences only to elaborate my ideas. I didn't go very much deep into these ideas. Okay, I know there are quite a number of smart students. They would write a lot and they will be managed to write a lot in 45 minutes, doesn't matter. Okay, for the mediocres and weak ones, if you feel that you are weak, if you feel you are a mediocre, you don't want to make a lot of mistakes, okay, try to limit, okay, and minimize the use of unnecessary sentences. Okay, so try to put in at least only 2 or 3 ideas for each content point. Okay, okay, less cash in hand. Some students would say, do not bring a lot of money with you when you're traveling. Can. Okay, but you have to be very clear. Okay, you see, I have used less cash in hand to bring that idea. Okay, if you say do not bring a lot of money to a country that you are traveling, meaning to say, are you going to, you are limiting the money that you are bringing to the country, it brings a different meaning, you know. So when you say less cash in hand, okay, meaning to say you are bringing a certain amount of money, but you are not holding everything together with you at a time. Okay, it brings a different meaning, yeah? So keep that in mind. Okay, that is the reason I'm telling you, try to stick to the original content idea that has been given in the question so that you won't make mistake. Okay, the next one, share your personal belongings. Sorry, not share, secure your personal belongings. Okay, it is also important to secure your personal belongings while traveling. You can always wear a pouch bag under your clothes to keep important documents and cash. Okay, so here also I have used 1 sentence and 1 elaboration. That is just nice. Okay, but you don't say it is also important to secure your personal belongings while traveling. Bring a bag. Full stop. Bring a bag that you can wear. Full stop. You are not giving enough details. Okay? So meaning to say, although you are writing 1 or 2 sentences to support your content point, make sure the details are enough. For example, let us look at the next point. Okay? The next point, I have to write lengthier because I need to add details. Okay? For example, the first point, public transportation. Okay, public transportation, C9. Okay, to save money, it is wise to travel using public transportation. This way, you are also exposed to the local culture and lifestyles. The public bus or trains are places where you can meet and mingle with the locals. You might also bump into other travelers and exchange information with them about the best places for cheap accommodation and food. Okay, so why do I put a lengthy elaboration for this? Because the public transportation need an extended elaboration. So I need to put in extra ideas. Okay, so anyway, I did not use any difficult words. I just add 1, 2, or 3 sentences here. Okay, the possibilities, the benefits of traveling in public transportation when you go on a holiday. 1, I said you can explore the local culture and lifestyle, you can meet the local, and you also can meet and exchange information with other travelers. So I have given 3 information to support my idea for public transportation. Now the next one, the next point is traveling groups. Okay, traveling groups, that is your C10. Now, if you are not a confident traveler or have some concerns about going to a certain place or activity, you may travel in groups. Okay, find a group that you are comfortable with and travel with them. It is definitely safe to travel in groups and it will be merrier. Or you can say, if you do not like to travel alone, you can also go on a group tour. Okay, or you can also travel in group in groups so that you will have a company and you can exchange information and you will not feel lonely. For example, I'm just giving you an example of how you can elaborate the idea. Okay, so this idea, I have given a lengthier idea, a little bit longer. Okay, a little bit longer for you to digest the information. Okay, so that is the about public transportation and traveling groups. Now we have already elaborated 10 points. Okay, we have already elaborated 10 points. Now we need to go to our own points. So do you remember what are the two own points that we need to elaborate? It would be about health tips when you are traveling. You have to give two health tips that when you are traveling. Now a lot of people make mistakes. Okay, students make mistake. They give two, but actually the two will be one because it's related. So make sure when you are giving tips, okay, when you're giving your own points are not related to the 10 points that is given in the rubric, or the 2 points are related to one another. That would make it as a 1 point. Okay, try to give points that are different from one another. Now here I have given 2 points. Okay, my first point would be, okay, traveling tips regarding health. My first one would be the one highlighted in black. I would also like to remind you that you should always keep a medical kit with some first aid and important medicines with you at all times. Okay, keep a medical kit with some first aid and important medicine with you at all times. That's 1 point. Next one, this will help in time of emergency. Another important point is to be careful about what you eat. Okay, a common problem among travelers is allergies to food and water. Okay, I remember that you are allergic to seafood. Please ensure that you have your allergy medications with you at all times. Now, if you see here, my elaborations, some of my paragraphs, I have 2 points. Not some, most of my paragraphs, I have 2 points. Okay, so it doesn't mean that when you're writing a directed writing essay, you have 12 points, you need to elaborate each point in 1 paragraph. That would make a 14 paragraph, meaning to say you have an introduction, then 12 content points, and then you will have a 1 concluding paragraph, meaning to say you will have altogether 14 paragraphs. No, you don't have to do that actually. So it all depends on your elaboration. So you can actually put 2 content points together to elaborate. And as I say, try to complete your directed writing as much as you can in 45 minutes. Okay, don't take longer than that. A lot of students, they spend a lot of time doing directed writing, that when they go to the continuous writing, they do not have enough time to elaborate, to work on the continuous writing. So make sure you complete your directed writing in 45 minutes. So these are some tips that I have shared. Okay, I'm not the kind of person who list out all the tips, okay, and then share with you one by one. I would like you to see the paragraph on your own, paragraph with your own eyes, and then from there I share with you the tips. So that is normally how I share my tips. Okay, so and the next one would be, okay, so the second traveling tips done. So the next one would be the closure. Okay, well, that's about it, I guess. I really wish I could go with you, but not this time, unfortunately. Take a good care of yourself and do stay safe. Write to me from Australia if you have the chance, and don't forget my fridge magnets. Okay, your friend Joylita. Okay, so your conclusion also, you don't have to really have a lengthy conclusion. Or if you want to say, if you want to use an idiom, you can say, I have to pen off my letter. Okay, I have to pen off my letter now. Okay, so I really wish, okay, so here I say, I really wish I could go with you, but not this time, unfortunately. Take care of yourself and do stay safe. Okay, very simple, a nice way to end your letter. Okay, so I did not use any difficult ideas here. I did not share difficult details because I know some students will find it difficult to follow if I use a lot of too complex sentences. So this is a very simple paragraph that I've shared here to help you to understand how directed writing should be. Okay, at this point of time, I'm sure you have done a lot of practice on directed writing. You have worked with your teacher on directed writing. I hope this little idea that I've shared with you could refresh on some details that you have worked on before this, so that when you're working after this, you can use the ideas that I've shared here to polish your writing, okay, to polish the idea so that you will work towards your SPM writing. Okay, now that is for directed writing. Okay, that is for directed writing. Now, next we are going to go to the continuous writing. Okay, next, okay, so this is basically how I have put your the marks, the scores. For continuous writing, I have already, like for example, if you are someone who have been getting 44 to 50, it means your essay is excellent. You have used impressive vocabulary and a variety of structures, and there are only a few errors in your essay. If 33 to 4, if your essay is between 38 to 43, meaning to say your essay is excellent but with some errors. And if your score is 32 to 37, meaning to say your essay is very simple and has no errors, and you use impressive vocabulary and structure correctly but with some errors, okay? And 26 to 31, okay, 26 is 31 is where a lot of mediocre students stand, and also 25 to 20. Okay, these two groups are a lot. 26 to 31, there is at least one patch of accuracy in my essay. And the group 20 to 25, 26 to 30 is the largest group of students. A lot of times I've seen. Okay, many students are in this category. Okay, there is at least one correct sentence in my essay. My essay is longer than 350 words. Okay, I'm just giving you a general description, yeah, of where you might stand. Okay, and 14 to 19, there is no correct sentence. Your essay, all your sentences are wrong. Okay, so your idea is understood. I can understand your idea. Okay, but you don't have any correct sentences, so you stay between 14 to 19. 8 to 13, I can only understand some parts of your essays. So a lot of parts I don't understand. Okay, probably you use Bahasa Rojak BM some side BM, some sides English. So I may not understand what you have written, but I understand some parts, so I give you 8 to 13. And if you get 0 to 7, it means that I cannot understand your essay. Only you get 7 because I can understand some parts of it. Okay, now that is general idea of where you stand, where your score is, so that you know what to work on. All right, now for continuous writing, okay, tenses. Okay, so you have to be careful. Okay, so you have to have a mixture of short and long sentences. You need to have simple, compound, and complex sentences. Okay, you need to have a combination of tenses. You need to have past, present, continuous. But if your story is entirely in the past, okay, meaning to say your story is, the whole story is in the past, so you use past perfect tense, past tense, past perfect, past continuous in wherever it is needed or related. Okay, but if your story consists of present and past, so meaning to say you must have in the present part you need to use present tense, and past tense part you need to use past. Okay, so keep this in mind before you start writing. Always plan where are you using a past tense, where you are using present tense, and these tenses also you have to study in different forms of essays. Okay, and you also need to have a mixture of sentence type, direct speech and indirect speech, rich and varied and descriptive ideas. Okay, and vocabulary, you need to use vivid vocabulary, clear. What I would say is specific vocabulary, effective repetition. Do not use the same word again and again. Double or triple emphasis. I will show to you, for example, she was sad and disappointed. Okay, that's a double emphasis. Okay, precise, show emotion. She was sad. She was very sad. Okay, you can actually, she was. What other words that you can use to describe the word sad besides using very sad? Okay, think about it. Creative use of idioms, proverbs, and phrasal verbs. Just like what I told you for directed writing, when you're doing continuous writing as well, please do not use idioms, proverbs, phrasal verbs unnecessarily. You can use them, but it doesn't mean that you have to use in almost every sentences or in every paragraph. Okay, and punctuation, comma and full stops are also important. Okay, now look at this sentence. Okay, Amina was very angry. Okay, very quickly. Okay, I'm going to elaborate this idea. Now, if you look at this sentence, okay, this is what commonly done by students. Okay, before I go on explaining this, for this part, for the continuous writing part, I'm going to share with you some tips from simple short paragraphs. Okay, how to improvise, how to write essay from short paragraphs. Then I will share my tips by sharing with you one example of a narrative essay. And before that, we will look at all the SPM continuous writing questions that came out in SPM last year, and we see what are the things that you need to understand in questions when you're answering an SPM question. Okay, so you look at this. Amina was very angry. She looked at her friend angrily. She shouted at her friend angrily. She walked out of the office angrily. She closed the door angrily. She started her car and drove angrily. Now, you see, okay, this if you were to write a paragraph like this, it means you do not know any other words to describe anger except for the word angry. Okay, now you see how the word anger has been used. Amina was very angry. She looked at her friend angrily. So how do you look at somebody angrily? You can stare. Okay. Shouted. You can yell. Okay. She walked out. You can stomp. She closed the door. You can slam. A lot of actions. Okay. A lot of words said. Okay. 5 senses. Sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of smell, sense of taste, sense, all this, for all the different actions or different reaction, different emotion, you can use different words. Okay, here you see I have highlighted in yellow the word looked, shouted, walked, closed the door, started her car. All this I have used again and again. Okay, now how can you improvise it? Okay, now this is one paragraph which has been improvised. Grabbing a key, she stomped out, slamming the door closed. She jumped into the car, started the engine, and was set to leave. I will never trust you again, she barked at him at the top of her lungs. She was shaking like a leaf. Her whole body quivered with an uncontrollable rage. Salty warm tears streamed down her soft, pale, soft cheeks, only stopping when they reached her swollen, dry lips. Her foot stomped onto the small accelerator, tires squealing as she sped away, leaving an odor of burnt rubber lingering in the air. Okay, so if you see, she walked out, I say she stomped out. Closed the door, I changed to slamming the door. Sitting in the, I said jump into the car. And then I added a direct speech. I will never trust you again. I didn't say she shouted. Instead, I used she barked at him at the top of her lungs. Okay, you see, she barked at him at the top of her lungs. She was shaking like a leaf, okay, and her body quivered with an uncontrollable rage. Okay, now, based on this paragraph, okay, I'm not going to read the rest of it. I leave it to you to read. If you see this paragraph, okay, based on this paragraph, I'm sure by now you have gotten ideas on how to describe anger. Okay, how to describe someone's anger. Now, you can just take a pencil and write down all this, and later on, you can describe somebody's anger or your own anger using the same ideas that I have shared here. Okay, so this is how you learn. Okay, if you do not practice from now, what will happen is, okay, you will end up writing like this forever and ever. Okay, these sentences are correct, no problem. These are correct sentences, but these are still considered a C essay, not an A essay. So if you want to go to an A essay like this, so you have to get ideas like this from somewhere, improvise it, and then write sentences, better sentences. Okay, think of improvising it. Even if you can't reach this, can't write a paragraph like this, you can actually start out by changing the word angry to some other word, and then change the word looked, shouted, walked, closed. Okay, all these words you change and try to write in a different word. So when you write essays or continuous writing, think of adjectives. Always have a list of adjectives. Okay, or you can, if you have a smartphone, you can always refer to smartphone. For example, go to Google, just say other ways to say angry, other ways to say shout. So you will come across with a lot of lists. So based on that list, you pick and choose and start writing it. Of course, when you write for the first time, you won't get it right. Okay, there's no way somebody starting practicing for the first time, everything you get right. You will make a mess out of it, but at the same time, you are learning something new, right? You don't learn by not making mistakes. You'll definitely make mistakes. So make sure as you learn, okay, you improve. You study with an objective. If you are writing an essay today, you tell yourself, okay, today I'm going to write a paragraph of 50 words. In my 50-word paragraph, I must use at least 3 new words. Okay, I must write at least 3 correct sentences. All my sentences have been wrong all this while. So today I must learn to write 3 sentences correctly in simple present tense. Okay, that's how you start writing it. Okay? Okay, done with this. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Okay, now you look at this. I was late to school, my teacher told me off. So when you are writing an essay, there are a lot of things that you can consider, actions, your feeling. Okay, for example, I was late to school, my teacher told me off. So possible ideas to consider. So when you're late to school, were you running to school? And how did you feel? And how angry was your teacher? Okay, how angry was your teacher? And did you say anything to your teacher? Okay, so these are basically some of your ideas that you can put here. Now, the next thing that you can put here is, okay, now I'm going to share with you the next paragraph. Okay, so these are the things that you can elaborate based on the questions that I put here. Now, so before you start writing, building your plot, yeah, I'm sharing the question here because when you develop your plot, okay, when you develop your plot, it is always important for you to actually ask questions. Was he running? Okay, if you're writing about a boy, what was the boy doing? Was he just woke up? So when he woke up, what did he hear? What did he see? Where did he go? So you put all this in form of questions, then you can build your plot. Okay, so before writing your essay, take about 5 minutes to build your plot. Okay, now the next one. Okay, so based on this question, I was late to school, my teacher told me off. Okay, so all you can, when you develop your essay, your paragraph, you can put these 4 things. You can have action, you can have dialogue, and you can use a simile. Okay, for example, panting deeply, I lunched at the closing school gate and headed straight to the classroom. Made it, I wiped my dripping sweat with my sleeves and fanned myself with my hands. Like a bird with a broken wing, trying to desperately cool down. Dialogue, you are late again. That was the teacher. Okay? With tears brimming in my eyes and face turning red, I stuttered. You didn't say I said, I stuttered. I'm sorry, teacher. I won't let this happen again. Now, so when you write your essay, you can always use direct speech. Okay, you see the last paragraph, I use direct speech here, the last part here. Okay, I use direct speech with some action. So you can start writing with some examples of direct speech. Okay, now let us look at SPM questions. Okay, the first question last year was a reflective question. If you had the chance to be someone else, who would you choose to be? Explain what would be good and what might be difficult. So in this question, first you need to say who you want to be. Okay, you can say if I had the chance to be someone else, I want to be my mother. I want to be my father. If you want to choose a leader, the question does not ask you to choose a famous figure. Okay. If I had the chance to be someone else, I want to be my elder sister because she is smarter than me. Okay. She has achieved a lot of things and what things that I desire for example. So who would you choose to be? And explain what would be good and what might be difficult. Okay, so you have 3 things to explain in this question, yeah? Now, SPM questions, please read carefully. They are like, it's not one question, but there are 3 questions in one question. Okay, for example, if you had the chance to be someone else, who would you choose to be? That's one. Second, explain what would be good second question. Third question, what might be difficult? You have to put all these three ideas in your essay. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now let us look at the second question. The second question was an argumentative question. For example, modern inventions have made our life much complicated. Things used to be a lot simpler in the past. Do you agree? Okay, there must be a question mark there. Now, so this one, modern invention have made our lives complicated. Things used to be a lot simpler in the past. So do you agree? If you agree, first you have to say, yes, modern inventions have made our lives much complicated. You have to explain what complication are you facing first. Second, things used to be a lot simpler in the past. What used to be simpler in the past, if you agree? So you have to give explanation for these two questions. So, and this one also, argumentative, always remember if the question say agree, okay, you can agree, you can disagree, you can agree to a certain extent. Okay, you can agree to a certain extent and then you say, I agree only up to this part. There are some parts that I do not agree with. Okay, you can do that. So there are three things. So in your paragraph, when you start your essay, in your first paragraph, just like I have shown to you in the directed writing, your introductory paragraph, you have to state clearly whether you agree, you disagree, or you agree to a certain extent. All right, that is argumentative. The next question, narrative. Write a story about two people who had an argument because one of them had lost a mobile phone. End your story with, and they both realized how selfish they had been. Now, this narrative is quite difficult. Why? First, it's about two people who had argument because one person thinks the other person had stolen the handphone, probably lah. Okay, or one person is blaming for the other person's handphone missing. Okay, so it must the handphone gone missing must be related to both of them. Okay, write the story about two people who had an argument because one of them had lost a mobile phone. And your story with, okay, the mobile phone went missing, but finally they realized they have been fighting over something and they had been so foolish fighting for it. Okay, so you have to bring in the idea how they had been foolish. Okay, you have to think the plot carefully. Okay, so you need to have two people in your character, loss of handphone, they argue about the missing, the handphone go missing. Probably they found the handphone and then they realize it's not either one's mistake probably, and then they realize how foolish they had been. Okay, there are a lot of things for you to consider when you write a narrative here. Okay, and the next one here would be argumentative. Which do you think is important, money or health? Compare the two and decide which is more important and give your reasons. Okay, so you have to compare. So first you have to money. Which is more important, money or health? So it's an argumentative again. So you have to compare. So you can say so compare the two and decide which is more important and give your reason. So you have to compare money and health. After comparing both, you have to say, decide which one is more important, and you have to give a reason why this one is important. Okay, so you have to do three things here: compare, decide, give, compare with arguments. You have to compare with arguments, decide, giving reason, and then you have to decide which one is important, and then you have to give reason why that one is important. So there are three things for you to do in this essay. So you see, all the 5 questions, you have more than one question to answer in each question. So my suggestion here, when you're doing your writing, always remember to read the question carefully, underline and understand the question carefully. Okay, now let us look at the next the next question. Oh, there's another question actually. Sorry. Descriptive. Describe the day you first met your best friend, where you were and how you began talking to each other. Explain how your friendship had developed since then. So meaning to say, in this question, you are going to describe the day. Describe, okay? Okay, this is not a story. Okay, of course, there is a story in this descriptive essay, but first you have to describe the day. What day was it? Describe the day, what happened on the day, where you went, where you meet. You have to describe the scene, describe who you met, when you see your friend, what came to your mind, how you started your conversation. Okay, and this descriptive essay involves a lot of vocabulary. Okay, starting your conversation, what he said, what you said, you know, a lot of conversation here. So all this you need to have put, and how. The next part you have to say, explain how your friendship had developed since then. So describe the day you first met your best friend, where you were, how you began talking to each other, and explain how your friendship had developed since then. So details, you have to give details for all these 4 details now. So make sure when you answer questions, when you read questions like this, SPM questions, you give all the details very vividly, clearly, clear details. Okay, now the next one. Okay, now we are going to look at an example of an essay. Look at this. Write a story about your holiday, visiting 2 friends, which turned out to be a horrifying experience. End your story with, I will always be thankful and indebted to him. Okay, so can you think of a story? Or can you think of a story relating holiday, 2 friends, horrifying experience, and ending it, I will always be thankful and indebted to him. So how are you going to relate these ideas? Okay, so first you have to describe a holiday. Think of a place that you want to go. Think of 2 friends that you're going to visit, and what horrifying experience with that. And you see, yeah, you had that horrifying experience, but at the end you have to be thankful and indebted to him. One person. Who is the him in the story? Is it your friend? Okay, so keep all this in mind. So meaning to say you are thankful and indebted only to one person, him. So probably one of the 2 friends saved you from something really horrifying. Okay, so keep that in mind. So when you develop your plot, so think of your holiday, you're visiting 2 friends, your horrifying experience, and at the end of the story, you need to be thankful and indebted to your friend. Betul tak? Okay, now, so let us go to the starting of the essay. Okay, now, I will never forget the day when I came face to face with certain death. Okay, this is how I start. At the invitation of my old friends, Timothy and Frankie. Okay, the reason I put Timothy and Frankie males because the question here indebted to him. Okay, so that's why my friends are males. I made a trip to one of the rural villages in Sarawak, the land of hornbills, during one of those long December holidays. So at the invitation of my old friends Timothy and Frankie, I made a trip to one of the rural villages in Sarawak, the land of hornbills, during one of those long December holidays. So I've put in the idea of holiday and my friends' names to fulfill the criteria in the question. 2 friends and a holiday destination. Now, describing my holiday. I enjoyed the peace and tranquility. Okay, peace and tranquility. This is what we say as double emphasis. Okay, this is what we say as double emphasis. I enjoyed the peace and tranquility of the village, which was a far cry from the concrete jungle where I came from. So there I was, spending a beautiful evening by a riverbank with Timothy's family and a few newfound friends. For some unknown reasons, I had this urge to take a dip in the river. Now, my 2 paragraphs here describing the holiday, I did not use any difficult words. Yeah, I made it as simple as possible. Okay, I did not put any difficult phrases or creative phrases. I'm trying to show to you that you can even get an A+ by developing ideas like this. Okay, so keep in mind. Okay, these are easy to follow paragraphs. All right, probably the Amina that I shared with you is probably a little high level, a little difficult. You may take time to develop that kind of idea. But this one, I'm sure you can handle this idea here. Okay, now let us go to the next one. So I stepped gingerly into the cold water, Gingerly means delicately. You know, cold water, some people jump into the water immediately. Some people, they will tap slowly, put their legs into the water. Okay, so that's what it means. I tap gingerly into the cold water delicately, enjoying the water flowing gently over my body. Okay, I'm still elaborating my holiday, how I'm enjoying my holiday. I was really thrilled as I had never done this before. I turned and waved at my friends as they waved back to me. I was not a swimmer, so I just floated, waded, and splish splash in the water. Okay, floated, waded, and splish splash in the water mean this is triple emphasis. Okay, so I didn't say I run, I run, I jump. I didn't use those words. It's clearly I'm not a swimmer, so I put I was not a swimmer. So I just floated, waded, and splish splashed in the water. Right? So that's a triple emphasis. Okay, now done with that, I'm going into the plot now. Okay, I've already elaborated how I'm enjoying it. Now, again, there's no any difficult words here, yeah? Now going back, a few twigs, broken branches, and withered leaves floated past me. Soon, I saw a log floating towards me. Okay, I'm building the plot. I paid no attention to it until I saw two bloodshot eyes staring up at me. It was not a log, but a crocodile. Okay, so I put an exclamation mark, okay, to stress the emergency here. It was not a log, but a crocodile. Okay, that's how it's supposed to sound like, lah. Right? So now, you see how the idea has been developed. I did not say during the last 2 holidays, I went to Sarawak to visit my friend Frankie and Timothy. And I stayed in their villages. And on the first day of my holiday, I went to the waterfall near their village. And I had a great time in the waterfall. Okay, the water was very cold, so I decided to go into the waterfall and spend some time in the water. As I was playing in the water, I saw a log coming near me. And when the log came near me, I saw a big crocodile in front of me. Okay, you see? If you write like this, and what I have shared with you here, there's a great difference in terms of using ideas. Now, it may be difficult for you to learn how to write like this, but with practice, you can. Okay, for example, in this paragraph, you can take the idea of a few twigs, broken branches, withered leaves, write it down. A log floating towards me, write it down. I paid no attention, write it down. Write down two bloodshot eyes and write down a crocodile. Now use all these ideas that I have asked you to take note into a paragraph. That's how you develop your own ideas. You take all the points from here, put it on a piece of paper. Without looking at this paragraph, you write your own paragraph. You see whether you can use all these ideas on your own or not. Okay, there will be temptation for you to look at the paragraph again and again. Don't look that. You read the paragraph as much as you can. You write down all the notes. You want to read 3 or 4 times, read, and then put it aside and use your own idea as much as possible to write it on your own. After you finish writing, only then you check with your sample paragraph and compare. That is how you build your writing skill. That's how you build the idea of how you want to write your essays. Understand? Hope you understand. Okay, now the next one. Okay, my heart missed a beat and I froze. Okay, my heart missed a beat means you were shocked. Okay, my heart missed a beat. Shocked. Okay, and I froze right where I was. Too shocked to even utter a cry for help. Looking straight into the eyes of the beast, I let out a shrill cry which aroused the attention of Frankie. I tried desperately to wade back, but the beast was too fast for me. Now, so I used an idiom, missed a beat, okay, a shrill cry. Okay, so these are some ideas that I've used. Okay, now the next one. Before I knew what was happening, I felt its razor sharp teeth. Okay, so if you see here, the idea razor sharp teeth sink into the calf of my left leg. Okay, this is what we say vivid description, giving details the razor sharp teeth, gigi yang tajam. Okay, so I add here razor sharp teeth. Okay, so giving specific, rather than just say it started biting my legs, it doesn't bring any impact, right, in your writing. So to bring impact into your writing, I put here, I felt its razor sharp teeth sink into my, okay, sorry, it's not sink, sunk into the calf of my left leg. It's supposed to be past tense. Okay, sorry for the typo, yeah. I felt its razor sharp teeth sunk into my calf of my left leg, sorry. I screamed in pain. It was dragging me underwater, which had by then, which had by then turned into crimson with my blood. Okay, so I'm giving here vivid description, detailed description. Crimson means red. Okay, crimson means red. Okay, see, I'm giving you one paragraph. I said the word crimson. If you do not know the word crimson, now you know. And now you may be able to be using it. Okay, crimson blood was flowing from her head. Okay, crimson blood was flowing from her legs, for example. Okay, now next. Frankie shouted something to me which I could not hear through my screams. He was an experienced swimmer with one long dive, D-I-V-E, sorry for the typos. With one long dive and a few strokes, he was at my side, wielding a parang in his hand. Okay, the parang supposed to be in inverted comma. Okay, wielding a parang in his hand. Okay, or you can use a machete, okay, instead of parang. Okay, now I could not hear through my screams. Okay, he was an experienced swimmer. Okay, I'm giving description of what kind of swimmer he is, adding details to my ideas. Now the next one. He climbed onto the back of the beast and with all his might and main thrust the parang right between its eyes, then its neck. Okay, the crocodile let go of my leg. Frankie shouted, instructing me to slowly wade back to the riverbank. Okay, so you see here, he climbed onto the back of the beast and with all his might and main. Okay, might and main means all his strength. Okay, might and main is a double emphasis. Might and main means all his strength, thrust. Cucuk, the parang right between its eyes, then its neck. Next question, next part. Timothy and the others watched in horror to see the crocodile last its strong tail at Frankie. He fell off the crocodile but struck another jab at it, which made it disappear into the murky water. He was back with us in no time. They carried me back to their house. Okay, there's a comma there because we're going to continue. Okay, so now you see I had added an adverb to the word water, murky water. Okay, strong tail, watched in horror, fell off. Okay, all these are some details that you can take and practice writing on your own later. Okay, now so the paragraph ends with they carried me back to their house and continues with and treated the deep wounds, okay, with their traditional herb to stop the bleeding. Later, I was taken to a clinic for further treatment. Frankie said that if I had struggled to free myself from the crocodile's jaw, it would have ripped my leg off. Okay, the deep scars still remain on my left leg till this day. But more than that, it left a much deeper scar in my mind. My holidays for some peace and quiet turned out to be a horrifying experience. To this day, I shudder at the thought of what I went through in the face of death, that fateful day. Okay, and the last paragraph. Frankie literally plucked me out from the jaws of death, for which I will always be thankful and deeply indebted to him, bringing in the flow towards the end. Now, so from this essay, I've shared with you this essay. Now, and as I shared this essay, I've also shown to you how you should develop your plots. How you should develop your plots. Okay. Now, when you're writing narrative, you need to have your flow of the story. Okay, and you need to have a lot of vocabulary. What you need to do is you need to practice. Now, if you are very weak, let's say you're very weak, you always score 19 or 17 or 16 in your essay writing, go and look for a simpler essay. Go and look for a simpler essay. Study the essay. I say study the essay. Don't just take the essay and copy the essay. You won't learn much by copying essay. Study the essay. Don't memorize. Study the essay, take note from the essay, and start writing from there. Okay, start writing your essays from there. Okay, that is when you will build. Okay, if you, as I said earlier, you don't blindly write everything. Okay, you don't blindly write everything. All everyday practice blindly. You may not improve much because you are not putting any ideas for improvement there. Okay, now another thing when you are writing narrative or for continuous writing, just keep in mind that you have only 1 hour. So you have an hour to complete your essay. So do not write a too lengthy essay. Just keep the length of the essay something that you can manage in 1 hour. And before you start writing your essay, always remember, before you start writing your essay, all you can do is write a simple draft. Think of what are the vocabulary that you can use or idioms that you can use. As I said, not too much. Sorry, not too many idioms or proverbs. Okay, just list them down. And as you write, refer to them and write. And for now, for practice purposes, what you can do is in your exercise books, whatever exercise book, as you read all these sample essays and so on, what you can do is you can just take all these ideas and jot it down in your exercise book and read and look at them every day like a journal. You have 3 months for your SPM. I believe you can still do that. These are some studying techniques that I'm sharing with you. So you refer to all these paragraphs, and as you refer, you can actually learn from there. You can actually learn from there. And when you write essay, you do not know what idea you want to put, you can refer to the list of words that you have actually found in different types of essay. And I'm sure as you read and practice, it's not just about writing essay, it's not just about writing. You read and then you write. So as you read, you absorb knowledge, and when you absorb, you bring out that to write in your essay. So that is what you can do. Now, if you look the essay that I've shared here, I've only shared one essay for today's session. Now, if you want to look for more essays, you can always go to my YouTube page, and there are a lot of essays that I've shared. For today's lesson, I've only shared with you narrative, okay, narrative writing, because I have gotten a lot of requests to do narrative essays from students asking for narrative essays, how to write narrative essays. So this is what I'm sharing here. Now, so you see here, the question that I've given for this essay was, just go back to the question. Okay, this is the question. Write a story about your holiday, visiting 2 friends which turned out to be a horrifying experience. This essay must be written in simple past tense, right? So if you see, all my ideas I've developed in past tense. Okay, now to make things simple for students who find writing essay difficult, I did not use direct speech. I did not use direct speech, but you can always use direct speech. Okay, you can always use direct speech for your essays. Okay, for example, in this part, yeah, when he was asking for help, okay, for example, when the friend says, which part I forgot? Okay, yeah, sorry, the next paragraph. You see, Frankie shouted something to me which I could not hear. Okay, so the next one, you can also see before that. I screamed in pain. Okay, you can add a direct speech here. I screamed in pain. Help! Direct speech, you can add that. Okay, help! I screamed in pain. Okay, okay, then it was dragging me underwater, which had by then turned into crimson blood, crimson with blood, my blood. Okay, so these are the ideas that you can add in, okay, the direct speech into your essay. Now, I think that is all from me for today's session. And yeah, so if you have any question, you can always drop an email, or you can go to my blog. You can look for essays on my blog, or you can always go to my YouTube page, and you can watch all the essays that I've shared in my YouTube, okay, and you can learn from there. So, Miss, over to you, Miss Nisa. Any questions?
If you have any questions, students, you can put it in the comment section, or would you like to come inside the studio and ask the questions to Mr. Mohana yourself verbally? Or any teachers here? I've seen there are teachers. I saw Puan Kuna from SMK Nanhua and a few other teachers. Would you like to ask Mr. Mohana any questions? No, okay. I think your explanations are very clear cut, Mr. Mo. So
Oh, thank you.
it was really interesting. So thank you for very interesting session. And I hope that students and also teachers will benefit from this session. And please, students, if you want to ask any questions from Mr. Mohana, you can go to the blog, or can they contact you through your blogspot?
They can go to my Facebook page, English Vibes.
Yes, he has a
They can
Facebook
go to
page.
my Facebook page, English Vibes. Yeah, they can contact, send messages from there as well. No problem.
Also, your YouTube channel, your Facebook page, and also your blog is called English Vibes. So the same
Yeah,
name.
everything is English Vibe, all same names.
All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Mohana, and we hope that we will be able to collaborate in another time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Miss Nisa.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.